closing problems where you have a purchaser on a pre-construction builder contract. I was trying to get an idea of how many of you have worked in this area. There were several hands that went up. Now, like any other type of purchase or sale, we're all affected by market conditions. Prior to the problems that have more recently arisen, historically what's happened is I have my builder's agreement, has a price, let's say $2 million, and I go to the bank for financing, and the bank, and value, taking into account the market forces always at play. Now, how many of you experience now issues? The big problem and the issue that you may have is that bankers on their appraisals are coming in with values well below what the builder's purchase price is. Yes, okay, and others. How many of you are coming across that problem? I'm just telling you that there's only a few people here. Every day, I must get 5 new clients that have that problem. 5 a day. I have projects. I have one project where I think it's Countrywide Homes, and the project is in the Bathurst, Elgin Mills area. Homes are $3 to $4 million, and I have appraised values coming in between $500 to $1 million less than the builder's price. Huge problem. If the builder has 70 lots, 35 to 40 will not close. We're not talking 1, 2. We're talking massive numbers. We see this going on in certainly York region, but we see it in areas like Durham, Pickering, Ajax, Oshawa. Oshawa is the double hit because of the GM plant. People are selling resale homes. So there is this huge problem. And, I'm getting couples coming in with really sad stories. I had one case where wife was on the agreement of purchase and sale, and because it takes so long to come to the time of final closing, wife was going to have a baby, couldn't work, therefore she couldn't get approval on the mortgage, and they couldn't close. I have stories where, it's coming in under $1 million, $500,000, $300,000. They can't afford it. People's lives change. How do you deal with it? Okay? Help me. Give me some feedback. Actually, let's cover something easier. Person, there's a shortfall. Doesn't make a difference, 100,000, $1 million, but a shortfall. The buyer can't close. What are the rights of the seller? In this case, a seller being a builder. What can the builder or seller do? What are their rights? Someone. Yes.
Take the deposit.
Does that make sense to everyone? Okay.
They're going to charge you a penalty?
Well, a form of penalty. They will take the deposit. They'll claim it. What else? Yes.
They can give you extension, but you exchange it for additional deposit.
Well, they can give you an extension, and they'll charge you for it. Traditionally, they have charged. Now when you ask for an extension, I've gotten extensions of 2-3 months at no cost. No cost. But you got to be able to close.
I think the builder might ask for extra deposit to extend.
Builders, look, on a resale, absolutely. If you're doing a resale, can't close, there's a mortgage issue, you need an extension, they'll ask you for certain costs and perhaps an additional deposit. But we're talking on a pre-construction, not a resale, and it's the builder. Really, the builder, the seller would say, I'm taking your deposit money and I'm going to relist the house. And if it sells for less, I'm going to sue you for the difference plus my costs. Remember, all these builders have houses. They got to pay their suppliers of materials. They got to pay their sub-trades, the contractors, the plumbers, the electricians, the framers, all the people that have had a hand in constructing the house. They have a bank that they pay financing to. Like anyone in business, if you're selling shirts or dresses, inventory, you want to get rid of it. Now you're paying money to your bank on your line of credit or your bank loans to carry on your business. That's costing you money. Prime Plus. They got to pay that. And if they don't sell their product, what happens when a store who sells dresses doesn't sell dresses? First thing they do, they have a sale. They'll give you up to 30% off. Then it goes 30% off everything. Then it goes up to 60%. Then it's 60% on everything. Then they go out of business. They got to sell their inventory. That's what they're in business to sell. They have the rent to pay, they got salaries to pay, they got the bank loans to pay. Same thing with the builder, except their inventory are these houses. Why is this not the case if I turn from pre-construction single family homes and I go to pre-construction condo units? Why is that not the case, what we're seeing with pre-construction condos? What is the difference with these two products? Why is the condo market seems to be stronger? Is that a common thought? I would think so. Perhaps the condo market in the city of Toronto or downtown Toronto is stronger than York region, but still condo market, pre-construction condo market is still a strong market. Why? Why? Yeah, less expensive. You'll get more first-time home buyers who can afford it. But most of them are under $1 million, correct? Easier to get a mortgage. Okay? Once a mortgage hits $1 million, it goes from your account manager to a different level that you got to get approval on. These single-family homes are, for the most part, ranging between, I would say, around 800,000 up. And it's not uncommon to see 1 million or 900,000 or 1 point something. And they keep going up. So condos don't have that problem. Client comes in. You have a client that you are the agent on a pre-construction contract, single family home. They come to you. I can't close. I went to the bank and the bank says, well, your closing's in March, but without doing an appraisal, I already know from other people that in this particular project or the projects in this area, this is what the range is. Your house is 1.2. Best we can do, we're seeing appraisals come in around 900,000. You got a shortfall. What are you going to tell them? They're crying to you and they're saying, what will happen to me? What is my worst scenario? And you got to tell them, look, your worst case scenario is you could lose your deposit and and they will resell, and they will sue you for the difference if it's lower, and also their carrying costs and legal costs. Certainly that's the question I get asked when they're in my office and they say, what is our worst case scenario? Okay. How do we deal with it? Now that we know the problem, what are the solutions? Some ideas. What do you think? Give me something.
Negotiate with the builder.
Negotiate, yeah, sure. Reduce the price, okay.
Find a
No,
partner.
let's work with reduce the price.
Find a vendor.
Yeah, look, there's various options, but let's go with reduce the price. So that certainly is an option. And I'm always asked, let's call the builder to reduce the price. Have any of you tried to contact the builder and ask for a reduction in price? Anyone? Have they reduced the price?
No.
Do I hear any yeses? No. They don't reduce the price. Why? Why? What do you think? They're not out there to be bad people, but why are they not reducing the price?
Because people think, oh, we'll come back with that. How come you lower?
Well, they can't reduce the price for two reasons. One, people talk too much. Okay? You have people setting up their private social media site. We're going to sue the builder, and we're bringing a class action suit. Well, the builder hasn't done anything wrong. Granted, you buyers have not done anything wrong either. Maybe there was some greed involved in buying, but most people that have bought single-family homes have usually bought the home for their own personal use. It's not like buying a condo unit for investment. So, reduce the price. I'll give you an example. I had a client closing a deal with Tridel condo. And they were charging every buyer $600 a certain fee. And I phoned up the lawyer who I know, and I said, really, it's not fair. $600. I had 3 clients that had like individual units in the building. He said, do me a favor. Cancel it, waive it for my clients. So he said, okay. Like I know this lawyer for 30 years, 40 years. For your clients, I do it. Great. I go back to my clients. I got a waive. Now I'm a hero. What does one of my clients do? They get on the social media, WeChat, and they say, oh, my lawyer got the $600 fee waived. Call all your lawyers and tell them what my lawyer did and get it waived. Well, the next day I get a call from the lawyer and his associate lawyer. And he said, what did you do to me? From morning, like for the last 4 hours, call after call after call from buyers and their lawyers complaining that they want to get a waiver. I told you to tell your clients to keep their mouth shut. So what had happened? All these 3 clients, they had to pay. And I lost credibility. I lost face. He says, look, I know it isn't your fault, but I lost face. Because here, they were doing a personal favor for me and my clients. Okay? So when I tell my clients to keep their mouth shut, they got to keep their mouth shut. Well, that doesn't happen. I learned. So builders, if they give a reduction in price to one, they're going to have tremendous problems. They're going to get other buyers wanting a reduction in price. So they can't do it. 2, another reason why they can't do it, because they got to keep a price point on the marketplace vis-a-vis their competitors in the market. If Mattamy Homes or a large builder says, okay, we're going to give a price reduction on these homes, they lowered the quality of their brand as an image to buyers, not only in this place, but how does it look out in the marketplace? Mattamy Homes just reduced all their homes in this project by $100,000. It doesn't look good from them from a branding, marketing point of view. They can't do it. Can't. Now, that being said, there are all kinds of builders, all kinds of projects in different areas. Thank you. A project in Ajax may not be the same as a project in Vaughan. There's different values. So, and there's different builders, and relationships are important. I'm telling you right now, when I work, this type of work is very much teamwork. The client and the agent, the client, not so much the agent, the client and the lawyer working together using human nature, law, and business, common sense, to work together to work on the builder. So, I had a client couldn't close. So I said, go to the builder, the sales office, because I can't go to the builder. I got to go to the builder's lawyer. It's like agents. You go agent to agent, not agent to the other agent's client. So if I go to the builder, if I go to the builder's lawyer says, no, my client has already told me there's going to be no reduction in price. Okay. That's what the lawyer is saying. I say to the client, go to the head office and cry. You know who I'm talking about. I said, cry. Like, I don't care. Show passion, and my life is coming to an end, and fling yourself on the floor. Cry. I'm going to commit suicide. My life is coming to an end. I'm exaggerating to a certain extent to prove a point. Cry. People are human. In this particular case, okay, we'll try and work with you. Okay. Now, this particular builder, and I will say who the builder is because they showed a lot of heart. It was Tribute, and it was a project that they had in Durham region. I don't know if Tribute would be the same if it was in Vaughan, Richmond Hill, or in the city of Toronto. I don't know if it would have been the same. However, it was a sad story. There was a personal aspect to it. And they said, and we tried to work out an arrangement where there would be part reduction in price and part second mortgage, a combination. I think they were prepared to give a reduction of about $50,000. It wasn't a lot, but I appreciated the effort. And then they were going to give a mortgage of $200,000 to make up a shortfall of $250,000. So we tried to work out something. The final analysis on the mortgage, they couldn't give good terms. So to give a second mortgage for the shortfall that was going at 8 or 9%, because I was looking at 0 or 1, 2%, they were charging 8%. It wasn't going to work. So what has happened, so we couldn't go forward. So simply the point is, although the general rule is that builders, for several good business marketing reasons, will not reduce their price, there are occasions where if your client goes directly to the builder, there might be some consideration given. Okay? So sometimes that works. Now, let's talk about another option, which is assignment. Do you all know what an assignment is? Okay. For those that don't know, I have an agreement of purchase and sale, says that Gary Shapiro is buying this house for $1 million. I go into the marketplace and I sell it to you for a price. What is the problem with doing assignments of these contracts? What is an obvious problem? Please tell me. Obvious problem, yes. Well, you're back to the same thing, appraisal. So if I have $1 million agreement and I want to sell it, hey, for $1 million, I don't want profit. Here, just take it. If the appraisal comes in at $800,000, why would someone buy it for $1 million? If the market is saying to you that this is worth, forget about what's on the agreement. If the market is saying to you $800,000, I'm not going to buy it. The only hope you have is where is working with the deposit that was paid. So if I have $1 million agreement and I paid $300,000 deposit and the property is worth $800,000, let me sell it to you for $800,000. You close with the builder, give me back $100,000. I will play with my deposit. So in fact, I'm losing some money. If I put up $300,000 deposit on $1 million deal and it's $800,000, I'll sell it to you for $800,000, close with the builder, and you're using part of my deposit close because they're going to get a $200,000 credit. So I'll get back some money, but not all. But that's better than not closing and losing all my deposit and also possibly getting sued. Okay? So you're going to swallow some poison. You get the opportunity to pick which poison you want. The other difficulty you have with an assignment is, one, you got to show the house, which is a little bit more difficult when you're dealing with pre-construction versus resale. You may be able to phone the builder and say, work with me. And builders today generally have been good. The other thing is the time to close. On an assignment, you need time. It takes time to find, to work out your deal, and to close. So if you wait too long to do this assignment, then we have to ask for an extension. Now, some of you said as a strategy, ask for an extension. Okay? Now, on the extension, if you know you're not going to close and you can't assign, if you paid $100,000 on the deposit and the market is saying that your $1 million contract the property is only worth $700,000, you probably won't find anyone to take over. It just won't happen. So asking for an extension doesn't help. Unless you think you're going to be buying lottery tickets for the next couple of months in the hope you're going to win big. It's not going to help. Now, I've had a couple of cases where someone says, I have money coming from overseas, but it's going to take me more time. I need to get more down payment because I can only get a mortgage, taking into account the shortfall, I'm short 200,000. I need money to bring over from China, for example. I need time. Give me an extension. Generally speaking, builders will give you the extension, and I would say certainly more than 50% at no cost. Because that I've gotten extensions 2-3 months, no problem. They'll tell you to waive compensation under carry-on because of the concept of delayed closing, but they'll give you pretty much a free extension if you're going to close. So you can play with extensions. The next option is I have a 200,000, conservatory, for example. I have a client who has a shortfall of 150,000. And conservatory is the builder. And I read in the paper that conservatory is giving mortgages. Of course, they have a little small print that you got to qualify as if you were going to a bank. But it does say they're offering mortgages 0% interest for two years, for example. Now, I don't know whether their purchase price or sale prices are a bit higher to take into account the financing cost. Don't know. So I'm dealing with Tribune, and I said, look, I have this client has 150,000 or 200,000 shortfall. They want to close. It's in no one's interest to not close. Can you give them a mortgage? Sure. Within reason, they'll give you a mortgage, all these builders. But now you're working on the terms. Getting a 1-year term won't work. Like I've had enough experience now. The market isn't turning fast enough because in 1 year, you're going to be back in the same position. The mortgage is coming due. What you're going to refinance? Prices will not have gone up high enough in the 1 year to be able to refinance or deal with it. You need a mortgage term, I would say realistically, of 2-year term. It's going to take time for the market to come back, and it will come back. Properties, across York region, the area is good. Personally, I would rather live in Vaughan. No, I better not say this. There are certain areas I would rather live in than other areas. As someone who has lived in Vaughan and Richmond Hill and Markham at certain times in my life, I feel comfortable living in those areas as opposed to other regions. Okay? And I think that those are good areas that, given time, will come back. So like Newmarket is starting to come back. Maybe prices went low enough that now it's starting to go up, supply and demand. But so we can use extensions in a strategic way. We can get a vendor, we'll call it a vendor take back. A builder gives you back a mortgage. The other problem you're going to have with a builder mortgage, like 2-year term, you got to get it at interest rates that that the client can afford. A lot of builders won't give it for 0. They'll probably give it at anywhere between 2 and 6%. The builder that was asking for 8% was on the basis that their money was costing them 7%. They got to take into account their cost. And remember, the builder really doesn't want that house back. If you have a project of 120 homes and 20 homes don't close, you got to put 20 homes up on the market after. They can't put 20 homes back on the market because You're going to flood the market, supply and demand, and you won't be able to sell it at your price point. So you got to release a few homes at a time. And I can assure you that people are going to these builder sites are not saying, oh, what houses have not closed so that I can buy it at your original price? No, they're going and saying, builder, I know that there's some houses that are not closing. Are you able to give me a house at a discounted price? Builders don't want to put a lot of houses on the market and flood the market. We have builders in Richmond Green that have phases. So I have a client buying in phase 4 who's having a problem. But the houses in phase 5 are higher. And they're selling. Who knows why? So we said, hey, this house in phase 5 is similar to your house in phase 4. Let's try and assign it. So we try and play, maybe an assignment can work, appealing to people that want to buy in this newer phase at a certain price point that maybe we can assign their offer. Again, going back to getting an extension. But builders, bottom line, don't want to get the product back. They want to sell it. They'll work with you within reason. But if a party if they barely can afford the first mortgage, getting a second mortgage at 5 or 6 or 8% is not going to help. It has to be like 2 or 3 to make it work, realistically. The other problem you have is what happens if the first mortgage you get is from a bank and they say no secondary financing. Then you got to scramble on that. And I won't say anything further on that, but we can talk privately later. So, what have you learned so far? Don't sell pre-construction homes. No. What you've learned so far is reduction in price probably will not work. That's the easy thing, reduce the price. Send your client to the builder to plead. Tough life, everything. Okay? Builders, remember, they don't want the house back. They are making profit on it. They may want to sell the house. They may say, close the deal. We'll give you a second mortgage at a higher price. Then we'll reduce the mortgage to take into account a reduction in price. Because we don't want to give you a reduction in price so that you go off and talk to everyone how I got a reduction and we have everyone asking for reductions. Close the deal, then we will reduce maybe the mortgage or we'll work it out in some way. Maybe we'll give you a rebate, financial rebate back. Again, we said maybe a combination of price reduction and or the mortgage together may work. And that's the combination of 3 and 4 that I was discussing. There have been, if I'm currently working on 30 cases, this type of problem, there have only been 2 out of 30 where they've already started to sue. Okay? And there's ways to deal with it. Now I'll go right back to number 1. The number 1 thing that a lawyer should do, or you should do, is review the contract. Why? Why should that be first? And I gave you the options and I went back now. Number 1, before you do anything, review the contract. Why? Yeah. Simply because it's a well-known builder and a well-known builder lawyer worked on it, doesn't mean that there's no way out. Here's an example. I had 18 people come to me, different buyers. And they bought in a development in Richmond Hill. And in the agreement, there were to be a schedule of warning clauses. Now, remember one thing. Generally speaking, when you go to the sales office on a pre-construction single-family home, you don't get a cooling off period, correct? That's condos. So what happens? You go to the sales office and you get high pressure. In fact, I know of cases where people had to pay salespeople cash money under the table to get a house. Okay? I have one case where now we're not closing, and I brought it to the attention. I gave names, places, and money. And we're getting the client out of the deal because of that. Okay? So I usually, or want a case report, I speak to the client, get all the background on it. But on this agreement, talked about warning clauses. And then there was a clause in the agreement that said that warning clauses will come later and you'll be contacted by builder. Okay. 6 months later, the warning clauses come out and the sales office phones the client, all the clients, come into the sales office, the warning clause schedule is out, we need you to come in and initial. They go in, they stick it in front of their face, they don't have any time to read, and even if they could read, they wouldn't understand what in fact they're reading, and that's regardless of their Mandarin or English skills or any language skill. Here, sign it. You got the house, sign it. Thank you, goodbye. Next. That's beautiful, I love it. Because in that case, we said that the original contract was not valid. Not valid. We had 18 of these cases and it grew to 43 once we're, see, people talk. What ended up happening in a lot of, don't forget, every case is a little bit different because people's finances are different. We said across the board, all these agreements are void. Because when they signed the contract, it was not a complete contract. They didn't have any opportunity to review the warning clauses or take the agreement with the warning clauses and have it reviewed by their lawyer. So to come in and just sign on a warning clause doesn't cut it. Because what happens if there's a warning, one of the provisions in the warning schedule, schedule, is something I can't live with. So we're saying they didn't get independent legal advice, that the warning clause schedule was not in the agreement, so the agreement is incomplete. All you need is to give me a little crack in the door, and then I'll kick it in. Okay? But I see the agreement first. Most of the time, granted, there's a strong lock. I can't break in. Okay? But this was a case where there was something that we had. Now, if they got a litigation lawyer, my clients got a litigation lawyer, at the end of the day, it was negotiated out. And what they did is they did reductions in price, they did mortgage back, like almost at 0%. Because they were so stuck, it was better for them to unload this inventory than, because they were going to be faced with a financial chaos. Remember, they got their bills to pay. I'm glad that I wasn't the marketing person or the business person for that builder that thought of putting out the warning clauses after the fact. But the primary reason for that happening, it was greed. The market was hot. The builder didn't want to wait for the warning clause schedule to be ready, and they wanted to market it and sell it while the market was hot and they could get top dollar. and greed came back to bite them. But that's a perfect example of review the agreement, because the agreement may not be valid. Now, there are some lawyers that will review it and will tell their client, we'll find something and they will use this and this and this. And good luck to them. But I have credibility with builder and builder lawyers. I'm not going to bring up garbage excuses to say that the agreement is not valid. I have too much professional pride. I look for genuine, reasonable reasons to say the agreement is void. So when I go to a builder's lawyer, they listen, because they know I'm not going to waste my time. I'm not there. In many cases, what I normally do when a case is brought to me, they'll ask me, how much are my legal costs? And I said, I don't know. Come visit. Let's talk about it. There's no charge. If I can help you, I'll charge you. If I can't help you, there's no charge. I'll send out a letter at no cost to feel out the builder or the builder's lawyer. If I can do something for them, or I feel that I have a genuine chance, I'll charge for the work. But if I know I'm going to get back, and this is like really, there's little or no chance, I'm not going to charge for it, because I don't think it's fair. But that's me. Some other lawyers say, give me $20,000 retainer, and sure, I'm going to do all this work for you. But you got to be honest about it. But that's my approach. Now, another thing is, and it's not on here, is using your deposit. I have a case where a deposit was paid. Deal was, let's say, 1.1 million, and for whatever reason they paid $450,000 as a deposit, which is huge. Can't close, shortfall. I'll go to the builder and I'll say, look, even at the appraised value, which is let's say it was 800, let's say there was a $250,000 shortfall. They paid you $450,000. Let's work with the deposit, take $300,000, and give us back the difference and sign a release. Now, this particular builder is thinking about it, but all the other builders have generally said no. And I appreciate where they're coming from. They're saying, you know, the appraisal comes in and shows a shortfall of a certain amount. Let's say $200,000 shortfall. Why should I accept $150,000 and lose money? A lot of the builders are saying, look, let's wait. Let's resell the house. Let's see what in fact the loss is, and then we can come back and talk again about the deposit. And that's what most builders say. They don't want to commit themselves to saying, give me the deposit, sure, and release. What happens if values go down further? That could happen. Now, here's another example. I have a client, mother and daughter, they're buying a condo up in Bracebridge, a townhouse condo. And they put down $40,000 each. They go to the sales office and it's like, you know, the builder's going to increase the price tomorrow. So this is your last chance at this price. Really, they're going really fast. We only have a few units left. And they do a hard sales job on them, which really is not right. But they do it. They go, they sign, and within 24 hours, they regret it. And remember, there's no cooling off period. Time passes, and now they can't close. They can't get a mortgage to cover. They can't pay the shortfall. And further, the mother is diagnosed with cancer and may not pass away, but still has cancer. They want to try and get out of the deal. So I got these two deals. This is what we were able to do. But one of the good positive things that resulted here, which is not the case in the other projects, is that this particular project was going well, did sell well. They're starting a new phase. So the daughter was able to find a buyer to assign her unit and get her deposit back. Sold it for the same price. And the builder agreed, no problem, and didn't charge her anything for the assignment fee. So now that she got rid of that one, now the daughter says, well, maybe I can close one of them. I can close my mother's deal, so we'll salvage the deposit. We asked the builder on that one to say, give us back the $40,000 because prices went up. You're doing well. You could probably sell it at a higher price. They refuse. Oh, they said, we will take the $40,000, give you a release, but you still lost $40,000. What ended up happening on that one, though, worked out. We got lucky. The builder came back and they needed an extension of time. So rather than close in December, it's closing in March. Maybe later. And the builder says, oh, we'll give you the $7,500 on the Tarion warranty. So right now, where we said we wouldn't close, I went back to the builder's lawyer saying, okay, what we think we're going to do is we assigned the daughter's unit. We're looking, the daughter may close it now, or with the extended time because of the extension the builder needed. And even if we needed more extension, we're going to try and assign that unit. I would venture to say in that particular case, both units will get assigned. They will get their deposit money back and works out okay. But what salvaged that deal really was the market value. Although the bank was going to give less money, the bank's appraisal was coming in much lower. In reality, market prices were still strong for that type of product in Bracebridge, which is, I've been told, a very nice cottage area. So that worked out well. Now, any questions so far? And we'll go into the last part. Yes.
I'm from the bank. I'm usually it's okay. I'm just a mortgage specialist.
You're only a mortgage specialist?
Yeah. So I'm not.
Like you're a key person.
So when they review the documents, the purchase
Okay,
sales
thank you.
agreement,
Yes.
most of the time I notice either the buyer or seller didn't initial certain pages, or at one occasion the seller didn't sign. The builder didn't sign on one page. So that will be considered an invalid document.
It could be, but not necessarily. They would take into surrounding factors. Simply, if the builder signed it and didn't initial one page, I don't know, is that deadly enough to make the agreement null and void?
Yeah, I was thinking that might be a crime.
No, I mean, look, when you're in a difficult position, you try and use whatever you have. I certainly wouldn't want to go to litigation and spend tons of money because the builder didn't initial one page. I would like more than that. Where a schedule is missing, where something is not signed, where there's a fundamental. There are two types of errors. There is an error that doesn't go to the validity of the agreement, where you might be able to get a rebate or a credit or something like that. And then there is the error or mistake that is so fundamental that it goes to the heart of the contract, that would give me a right to get out of the contract. But look, we try and use whatever we have. Certainly not having a schedule of warning clauses was a lot stronger than having the builder not initial one page. You know, there's times where we may say on an agreement to get out of the deal that it was signed, that the seller signed using electronic signing. And if you don't have the proper provision allowing for electronic signing, then we could maybe use that against the seller to get out of the deal. But if I have a buyer who says, oh, we electronically signed, therefore we, buyer, should get out of the deal, you can't use that type of weapon for your own benefit. But if the other side did it, you might be able to use it. So that's why reviewing the contract is always the first step. There could be something there that even if you can't get out of the contract, you may be able to use the contract to get leverage from it to be able to get a better vendor take-back mortgage, maybe a reduction in price, or be able to, like we've had deals, forget about this area, where we've used builders' mistakes or builders' like we'll say mistakes, where we've used it to get upgrades in a house or condo at no cost. Yes, that is not, we've used that as leverage. But what is your experience at the branch level? Do you see a lot of this?
No, personally myself, I haven't come across anything. But I heard-
Where is your branch located?
I'm a mobile mortgage specialist, but I mostly work in Markham area.
Okay, and you don't have people coming in and have problems. They bought a detached home pre-construction.
So far, I've been lucky. Haven't come across one.
You're lucky. Have you heard of
I
cases?
have heard. Someone bought for 1.4 million, and it's a different bank, and the bank came back say it's only 960,000.
Yeah, I have one that bought for $4 million, and the appraisal came in at $3 million. Oh, the other thing that we start to do, we start to analyze the players. So here I have a case. The husband, like a lot of people come in, one of the questions I ask, once we can't, like all these little things we're talking about, these options are not working, then we get in, okay, what happens if you get sued? Do you own a house? Now, yes, we own a house. In some cases, we can't close because there's a shortfall between the appraised value and what what we'll get in a mortgage and the builder's price. And we were counting on selling our current house. And in that case, we're getting less money and we can't sell it. So they're getting beat up at both ends. So I was asking this couple, okay, so tell me what's going on. Who owns the current house? Husband and wife say the husband owns it. Whose name's on the agreement? The wife, not both. Who's going to get sued on that contract if it's only the wife? Will the husband get sued? Only the wife. If you get sued, what assets do you have? Bank account? Cash? Yes? Other houses? You got to hope that you can be in a position where even if you get sued, you are what is called judgment proof. You don't have anything. So this is the case the husband isn't going to get sued. And the house, the matrimonial home, is only in the husband's name. So big deal, the wife gets sued. So what? They'll get a writ of execution. They'll get judgment for $1 million or $300,000 against the wife. But the husband is the one that owns the house. And on the mortgage, doesn't need his wife as a guarantor. I say to the wife, okay, are you working? Because if you have a judgment and you're working, they can garnish a certain percentage of your wages. She says, I don't work. This is looking better. Okay. Do you have money in the bank? Yeah, I have about 100,000. And she said, oh, is that your bank account? No, it's a joint bank account. So they would have difficulty going after a joint bank account because a joint bank account means 100% of it belongs to the husband. 100% belongs to the wife. Husband, if you have 100,000 in a joint account, how many of you have a joint bank account? And the people who have a joint bank account, this is with someone like your significant other, correct? And let's say you have money in that bank account. You could go in and take out all the money without telling the other person, correct? Right. So you are able to take all the money out. Okay? Every divorce case I hear, if I see the husband or the wife, it's always, how did you find out? Well, it's either some man or woman called them about their significant other cheating, but other than that, they go to the bank and find out there's no money in the bank account. Who took it? And the other party says, oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, I did go to the bank and I took out the money and I want a divorce. Okay? So that's how you find out. So I'm saying, what do you own? And what we came down to is, how could they attack her? They couldn't get money out of the bank. I don't think that they could go after her registered retirement saving plan, because I think these registered plans are protected. She doesn't have a job and has no intention of working. So you're not going to get money that way. And her husband is on title, and he doesn't need her for a guarantor. So there's an example where they'll probably get sued, and I would say, so what? Practically. Litigation. As I told you in litigation, worst case, you can lose your deposit money and get sued. Now, with this deposit and getting sued, when a deposit is paid, the seller, this is general rule, not just pre-construction contracts, but in general, when the buyer cannot close, unable to close, the seller has a right. We say that the deposit is forfeited and the seller gets it. But a deposit is not the consideration. Do you understand? On an agreement of purchase and sale, when you pay a deposit, that's not the consideration. That's what is called good faith money. So the builder can take the seller can take all the deposit money and sue you. So let's say they resell the house and there's $100,000 difference in price. They get less money. Let's say they have $25,000 in their costs. Legal, they have to pay a mortgage payment or whatever. So they're claiming they're suing for $125,000. They can get that money, sue, and if they get the $125,000, they can still keep the deposit. Understand that. It's not like you take the deposit and subtract it from the loss. It's a $125,000 loss, but I paid you $125,000 deposit. So the $125,000 deposit minus from the $125,000 loss comes to zero. That's not how it works, generally by law. However, those are cases where a seller usually has been in fault for certain reasons that really puts them into default. This scenario we're talking about on the pre-construction contracts is created from the scenario of market conditions. And what's sad about it is that the builder is not really the bad person. It wasn't their fault. And the buyer, they're not bad, and it wasn't their fault. When they bought a single family home, generally it's done with the intention that we're going to live there, that they had the intention of closing. And if not for the market conditions, we wouldn't have a problem. If the changes, the policies didn't come in, likely prices would continue climbing, maybe not at the same rate, and the appraised value would come in higher than, or certainly equal to or higher than the builder's price, and everyone's happy. But that's not what happened, and that's not the buyer or seller's fault. What I've seen so far, and a lot of this has not gone to trial yet, because it's so current, and it can take a year or longer to go to trial unless there's a settlement. But what I have seen in the few cases, the judge has said, recognizes that, look, builder, this is not your fault, but it's not the buyer's fault either. It's unfortunate. And judges have tended to say, well, let's take into consideration the deposit money paid. And we will take that into consideration in terms of the damages which you are claiming. So, if the loss is if the loss ends up being $150,000 and the deposit is $100,000, the people may lose their deposit, but there may be a reduction in the damages the court says are payable. Now, where, by the way, in general, a seller resells the home and makes more money, then the situation with the deposit is a little bit different. So where a buyer loses their deposit are cases where there is a shortfall on the sale of the home. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. Any questions? Yes.
Regarding the assignment sale, the deposit, if I buy an assignment and the original agreement with the builder already paid, for example, $100,000 deposit.
Yeah.
And the market is a condo. The price is going up. And the other $100,000 different.
Higher or lower?
Higher.
Okay, on an assignment normally between the original buyer and a new buyer, called an assignor or assignee. The assignor, in the ideal scenario, will assign it and want to get profit plus reimbursement of their deposits. Where you're into a troubled market, or you have an assignor who's in a difficult financial position, sometimes they're just happy to get their deposit back. Like I have this assignment I'm working on now where the person is being assigned and the original buyer is getting out of the deal, getting their deposit back, and the money they paid for upgrades. That's it. There's no profit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I've seen cases where you don't get back your deposit.
I know, but as a buyer of the assignment, before the final closing, what's the deposit I should put? I put $200,000 deposit or $100,000?
Well, in that particular case on assignments, it depends on how much money the ultimate buyer has. Some people can't. Look, an assignor, the original buyer on an assignment, they want to get all their money as fast as they can. In fact, they want to get all their money, whether it's reimbursement of their deposit to the builder plus the profit. They want to get their money as quickly as possible after they get builder's consent to the assignment. But not all ultimate buyers can afford that. They don't have that kind of cash. They may have to wait to get their mortgage to register and get that money at the final closing. So each deal is different. It depends on the financial ability of the ultimate buyer, what they can do, okay, what they can afford, what the marketplace, not all projects are the same. The tendency has been there's been a lot of assignees or ultimate buyers that have the money that they can pay it out as soon as they get builder's consent. Okay? But even they have sort of stepped back and said, hey, hold on. There's been a couple of condo projects that have been canceled. So some of the questions on an assignment I want to know is, what is the stage? What is the status of the project? Have they started? Am I dealing with a Cosmo project or Icona project where it wasn't started, project gets canceled? You know what the problems are if you took an assignment on those projects that got canceled to get the money back? Okay? Now, paragraph 17 of the OREA form of assignment says that if something happens, that the deal doesn't close and it's the builder's fault, the assignor has to give back all the money. Okay? But if the assigner got all that money, profit and reimbursement, and 8 months later it doesn't close, do you think the assigner is going to have that money? They may not even be around. The more money, the faster they're gone. So I want to know the status of every project. Do I have a problem? Now, if I'm the assignor and I got an assignee that says, wait, look, I'm nervous giving you all this money. Yeah, you got builder's consent, but the final closing may not be for, 6 months, 8 months, whatever. I'm nervous. I'll give you the money, assignor. I'll give you this money now, which we can release when you get builder's consent. I'll give you the balance on final closing. But if I'm the assignor, I'm nervous now. Assignee, right now you got the money. How do I know in 6, 8 months you'll still have money to close? Because if you don't close, the builder's going to force me to close. That's what it says in the assignment agreement with the builder. So I'll tell you what, assignee, let's cut a deal. I'll let you pay the balance at final closing, but you give that money to your lawyer to hold in trust. So that I know when it comes to final closing, you still have that money. And if you don't close, I get it. Like let's say 8 months later, they don't qualify for a mortgage. They can't close. I still want that money. What do I do if I'm the assignor and there's no money held in trust and I have to wait till final closing to get that money? And what happens if the assignee says, look, I got money, I got a mortgage, but maybe the market changed, whatever reason, I got enough to close with the builder, but I don't have enough left to pay the balance owing to the assignor. Okay, so I put in my agreement, so if I'm acting for the assignor, that I have a right to a vendor's lien until I get the balance of monies owing. So you don't pay me, okay. I'm going to put a vendor's lien on your closing. I'll put a vendor's lien on title. So I may wait to get paid, but I got a lien on. You'll never sell it or refinance it with that lien on. I'll get my money sooner or later, but I'll get it.
So how to put the vendor's lien on the buyer?
Because on a vendor's lien, I don't need the buyer to sign. Only the vendor can sign. Like the assignor. In that scenario, the first buyer becomes the seller to the ultimate buyer. So we'll put a vendor's lien on.
So it's a signor's lawyer's going to do that job, or just simply.
No, I'm signer's lawyer would do it.
Okay.
Questions? Yes.
Yeah, excuse me, you just was mentioned, right? Like the purchase price might be around like $3 million.
Right.
And then the bank send appraisal come to check the house. This house is only value maybe $2.2 million.
Right.
So there's like $800,000 difference.
Right.
So then the buyer, when they bought this house, they think they could, they could apply like 1.5 million from the bank for the mortgage.
Right.
But actually, the bank said, okay, you cannot get as much. You probably could.
Right.
You probably get like only 1 million.
Right.
On this moment, and the buyer, they don't have any more extra money put
Right.
down payment.
Right.
So then the buyer can lose all the deposit, and then they can get the shoot from the seller.
Yes. He just summarized what I said. You got it.
Yeah, no. I mean like the thing, and then like how the buyer they can get out from the deal.
Burn down the house. Well, if you burn the house, the builder will get insurance proceeds and they can't close. I'm just joking.
Good idea.
So for this $800,000
Shortfall. How are you going to make up the difference? Reduction in price or vendor take back, combination of both, extension, assign,
several solutions.
with limited use. What happens to the agent, by the way, who acted for that buyer? Do you get the rest of your commission? No. You may even get the builder coming back and say, give me back what I gave you. And it gets worse if you did the deal at Landmark and then you went to a different brokerage. Don't do that. Tony, they won't do it. Yes.
What will be the worst scenario to get like sued by the builder? They will
You get a
force
judgment.
to
They can go, I have cases where husband and wife are on the builder's agreement, husband and wife are on their house. They can't sell it. They can't refinance it. There's a judgment against them. They can go to a sheriff sale.
It's not like the builder forced you to sell your house,
Could. They could push you.
but it's like for his scenario, the difference.
What usually will happen is that the builder will just wait and you'll never be able to sell the house or refinance without paying out those monies. Going forward, if you have clients, don't put them on, like if, husband, wife type of scenario. Don't put, if they have a home, a matrimonial home, try and split it. In the worst, so that, and what happens is, even if you go back to the builder and say, I have to change it or add my wife or add my husband for the mortgage, usually the builder will say, fine. If the builder says, no, then that's great. Because if I can't close because the builder won't allow me to put my spouse on because the mortgage lender is going to want to see both, you're just giving me an excuse, a defense to fight you, builder.
So, Gary, back to your cases that you mentioned, only the husband was on the title, so the wife was not. But the wife
Okay,
was
for men, put your wife on the agreement.
So the wife eventually.
That's only if they can't close. Because if they can close and it's only the wife, then you're in trouble.
So back then, the wife eventually being sued. No money in the bank, no title.
Yeah, so what consequences? Realistically, how can she be hurt? You won't get money from me in the bank. I don't own another house, so I won't buy another house. I don't care. You can't touch me. I'm not working, and I have no intention of working. So you can't garnish my wages. Here's a hint. You can have, if I'm trying to collect money on a judgment, I can have what is called arrange for a judgment debtor exam. And call the people to come to the exam because I say, and I want to get information. We have a judgment against you. Okay. So where are your bank accounts? What do you have? What are assets? And I got nothing. I got nothing. I got nothing. I got nothing. Okay. I said to her, put your hands on the table. You have an engagement ring. Take it off and leave it on the table. She looked startled.
So in that case, the builder.
Give me your watch. Like, it's a Rolex watch. Leave it. We're gonna sell it. I want to get money. Give me your jewelry. If you ever go to an exam, don't wear jewelry. You go to court, don't wear brand labels. Okay? Don't walk in with a Chanel purse. Unless it's a
Fake one. Unless it's a fake one.
A fake one, yeah. Wear only fake jewelry. Use fake purses. Like, okay, here's an example. I had a watch that looked like a Rolex watch. And I bought it somewhere. And I paid $250 for this Rolex watch. Okay? So it's a fake. It wasn't cheap. It wasn't $20. I paid $250 for this watch. And it was exactly like, well, it wasn't exactly, but really close to the type of Rolex watch I do want, which my wife has promised to buy me, but she keeps forgetting. So, and she knows my wife.
She's nice. She'll buy for you.
Okay, men, this is the sisterhood, and this is the brotherhood. Okay, yes, she is nice, but I'm still waiting for my watch. Okay, so I get this watch. It's $250. And I love the watch. Like, I really do like it. And everyone that sees me wear it thinks it's a real watch. He's a real lawyer wearing a real watch. Like, they wouldn't think I would wear something fake. So I tell them, no. It's not a real Rolex. And they said, come on. It's real. I said, no, it's not real. And we go back and forth. And I said, I swear to you, it's not real. And I tell them how much it is. And I show them how it's different. And they said, I don't believe you. And then they said, okay, it's $250. I'll give you $300 for it. So I said, I don't want to sell it. So right away, okay, I'll give you $500 for this watch. And I said, I don't want to sell it. They say, see, it's real. Because if it was fake, for $250, I'm giving you $500, you can make double money. Like you're doubling your money. But I like the watch. So those are the problems you have. So I can wear my Rolex watch to court. My fake Rolex watch. Okay, other questions? Yes.
Yeah, here is the case that the builder, they have not registered the project.
Have registered?
No, the builder,
Yes.
they have not registered the project.
Right.
With parent.
Yeah. Oh,
With
okay.
the agreement with
Right. Like those critical dates you're talking about? Because that's another way to get out. I got one, which is interesting, that they can't close. We're negotiating. And the date in which they get a 30-day right to terminate is coming up in March. So we'll see what happens. Yes?
Yeah, that's my question. Will this make the agreement invalid?
The agreement is valid, but under Tarian rules, by a certain date, if they can't close, it gives you the right 30 days to get out of the deal, to terminate. Saying that the contract is not valid means it never was valid. It's null and void. This is saying the agreement is valid, but because you didn't give me the house by a certain date, I have a legal right to terminate this valid agreement and get my money back. They have what is called an outside closing date. They have like a final closing date, but then they do have this outside closing date, and then you got 30 days in which you could get out of the deal.
I have a question. The buyer cannot close the house, right? So they ask agent to do the assignment. So do you know assignment? We cannot go to MLS, so we use like WeChat to find the buyer. For example, if the closing date pass, we still can continue like sell the house.
Okay, well, there's two issues there. Let's do the easy one first. You are advertising it on social media, a form of social media called WeChat. Okay. And you're still trying to assign it or sell it even after it's past the closing date. I would ask you why. What right do you have? What right does your client have? It's past the closing. Like if I come to you as another agent or a private person saying I want to buy it, unless you have an extension, basically you're offering for sale this contract where it's already where it's in breach. You're in default. It's past the closing date. Unless you tell me I have an extension on the closing, or I could get an extension on the closing if I get a buyer on the assignment. First of all, as agents, how many of you have been agents for less than a year? Okay. How many of you have been agents for less than 2 years? Okay. There is this tendency amongst, I will say, agents and lawyers, young people that are new to the profession. You want to make money, and you want to make money quickly. There is a tendency to chase after the wrong work because you want to make fast deals. There's a saying, you don't want to dance at every wedding. Okay? You only have so much hours in a day. Chase the right business. If you're going to go and do an assignment and advertise where you already know that your assignor or your buyer is already in breach. They passed the closing date and you're still trying to get rid of this. You're in a difficult position. You may be chasing the wrong business. If I was in that kind of position, what I would say to that potential buyer or assignor, I said, look, I would love to take on the case and try it. However, it makes no sense to you or me that you've already, because one, you should be looking at the agreement of purchase and sale. So it makes no sense for me to try and get to assign it in any, whether I do multiple listing system or WeChat or Kijiji, whatever. I don't care. Unless, buyer, you can show me we got an extension from the builder or something from the builder that says we will extend the closing if you find a buyer, you're wasting your time. Because even if you find a buyer, then they're going to go to a lawyer. You got to do an assignment agreement. It has to be reviewed. Then you got to go to the builder, get a builder's assignment agreement. There's a life to it. There's a process. You're wasting your time. Don't take a sale of a house, for example, where there's 3 mortgages, and already the first mortgage, there's a notice of, like a power of sale notice out on it. Because all you're doing is a race to see whether you can sell the house faster than the mortgage lender can sell it under their power of sale. And usually, if there's a problem with a mortgage on title, usually they haven't paid their taxes. There might be a judgment against them. Usually it's not one bad thing going on. There's 2 or 3. What'll end up, I've seen last year, at least 5 cases I had where we had a file that in fact, the money on the sale didn't even come up to close to pay off the mortgages, the property taxes. So I get a call from the seller's lawyer, would your buyer pay more money? Why would my client pay more money? At the end of this particular case, the seller's lawyer went to the lenders, negotiated reductions, and the deal closed. There wasn't even enough money left over after paying taxes, a judgment, and 2 mortgages. There wasn't enough money to cover all of the commission. So let's say the commission was $50,000 and there was only $25,000. The buyer's agent said, hey, so the listing brokerage says, let's split it. 12.5 each. And the cooperating agent said, why? I didn't do anything wrong. You give me all the $25,000. You get 0. So that's not worth it. There was a time, previous rules required you on every sale to do due diligence before you took the listing. You had to know what mortgages were on title. You had to know what was outstanding on each mortgage. You had to know whether there was a notice of sale under mortgage, whether the property taxes were paid, or if it was a condo, were there any condo liens, so that you had to know before you put it up for sale. You had an obligation to the public. How do you think a buyer feels when my buyer found themselves? What happens if they couldn't negotiate reductions? So now my buyer who sold their house is going to be stuck with no house, and their agent's going to get no commission. But somehow historically, those rules were dropped, and now you'll get agents acting for sellers that don't do any underlying work. I get many agents calling me on a sale before they do it. Can you do a quick search? Tell me what's on title. Okay? Now, your seller clients are not always honest. Surprise, surprise. And when there's a problem, it's usually a big problem, not little problem. It's like an iceberg. Most of it is under the surface. So in your example, you're bearing some risks on that. Second, a more difficult aspect, read the agreement of purchase and sale. It will say in an assignment provision, like you can't sell, lease, assign, transfer, blah, 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 prior to closing. Okay? And they've gone on, and years ago they said you can't list multiple listing system. Now a lot of them say they go beyond that. No multiple listing system, no social media site. And they used to say if you did it and caught, that they could terminate the agreement, the builder. Well, the builder's not going to terminate, realistically, because they need a number of sales to get their construction financing. So what builders got smarter, and they said, you're going to pay a fine of $3,000 or $5,000. So they keep the agreement, but they're going to get money for that and take it off. Now when your client goes to close and they want to get the housing rebate, forget it. Builder says, you listed, we caught you, so now we're not going to give you the HST housing rebate as a credit. You apply after closing. So read the agreement in that scenario before you put it on WeChat. What are your rights? If it says not on multiple listing, okay. But if it says social media, you got to be careful. Now, I've had cases where we're trying to assign, because I have a client can't close, where we'll go to the builder and say, can we get consent to list it? And we got consent, because the builder wants to close. And if this helps the buyer find someone to close, builder says, okay. But generally they won't. But we're living during a period of time where market conditions, especially on pre-construction single-family homes, is tough. They won't do it on a condo. Is the condo market good? Better than other types of markets. Condo market. There's not one market. Why do you look at the condo market as the condo market? Buying and selling a condo on Highway 7 is different than one that's south of Steeles. From Yonge, Shepherd to Steeles is one market. That market you'll have some 50% rent, like students, foreign students. They want to be, one bedroom unit on a subway line. Half the people will live there. You're getting to Highway 7 or places more Vaughan or other areas, you're getting more people living there, like the actual owner living there as opposed to rental. There are certain areas of Highway 7 where maybe that isn't the case. You go to Bloor and Yonge area, it's a different type of buyer. You go downtown, you'll get a lot of young professionals that want to live and work downtown. They want a certain lifestyle. There's not one market. There's lots of condo markets, but generally speaking, the condo market is good. Single-family homes, resale. The market to me is spotty. York region is still cool, but if I have a house on the bridle path, I could sell it any day. Okay, but even houses at York Mills Bayview are not getting the prices they once were. But if I go to Rosedale, I could get. Other questions? Listen, I don't want to keep any of you. It's funny. Someone said to me, I have 5 kids. Someone said, oh my God, you work weekends, you work at night, you work crazy hours. I said, if you had 5 kids, you wouldn't go home either. I'm telling you, it's a lot easier to go to work than stay home and take care of your kids. I did that for a while, and I have so much respect for a person, a stay-home parent. You take care of kids and do laundry and cook and dentist appointment, doctor appointments, school appointments, doing homework, baths, music, sports. This is going on, eh? We do not only law, we do lifestyle. Anyways, it's tough being at home. It's a lot easier to go to work. I can talk to people. What do I got to stay home and talk to a 2-year-old who has a tantrum because I don't want to give candy? I became a grandfather, by the way, 2 weeks ago. It was so easy. I really did nothing. And I go there and they give me the baby. Like, there's this assumption I want to hold the baby. Here's the baby. Okay. Oh, hold it this way. No. A little bit lower. Hold the neck. Put the head higher. No, lower. Keep the eye. Here's your baby back. Like, I have 5 kids. I can change the diaper with my eyes closed in the dark. And you're telling me how to hold this baby. I held all of you, like all my 5 kids. Okay, take the baby back. So, but it's great being a grandfather because all it costs me is money. I show up, here's money. Show up. I went out to Toys R Us and I bought one of those motorized cars. So I took a picture and I showed the parents. And they said, "You bought that?" The kid's 10 days old. I wanted the child to have it in time, to grow into it. So they said, "Oh, you're spoiling." And I said, isn't that what grandparents do? They spoil. That's my job. Okay, you have a question? Well, what I was going to say is, before I go into my comedy routine, anyone wants to go home to their children, please, you can go, and I'll stay here and answer questions. Watch this, no one's going. They don't want to go home. Yes?
So I missed the first part of this.
You missed everything. It was really over in the first 20 minutes.
But did you talk about what if the builder in the future got into financial problem and cannot close the deal? What can we do?
No, we didn't talk about that.
What can we do for our customers? And should we let them know?
It's first of all, when you're looking at now we're going sort of beyond what our topic is. When you're looking at the pre-construction contract in view of these 2 condo projects that have failed, and by the way, there's 9 other condo projects that are going under. You just don't know about it yet. So this is a problem. Look at the builder's conditions, because it'll say something about financing. It'll say something about municipal approvals, construction financing, and there's dates. So when I look at like a condo agreement, and I'm telling them, like, for cooling off, put a cap on these builder costs, get a no-fee assignment, do this. I tell them that the builder has 2 conditions they have until, some date in 2020, for example. This deal may not fly. So you got to be careful if you're going to start assigning it fast. You got to worry about some of these issues. Because until you pass that time, the builder could get out of the deal. You would get your deposit money back. That's on a condo. Because you do have some carry-on protection. But on houses, the builder can take the deposits and use them. So you may find yourself in a position where, okay, builder went out of business, give me my deposits back. You may not get them. There may not be any money to give back. Urban Core was an example, for example. like of problems that came up. And to sue the builder, builders have different companies for each project. I guarantee you there's no money there to sue.
And how do we know if the builder during the project, like whole life cycle before the closing, wouldn't it be like having any construction lien registered on the potentially on the property?
I don't care. I'm not searching title until final closing. It allows me to a certain date to do it.
So what clause can we put into the pre-construction agreement as buyers from now on? Because I think the market is shifting, it's changing. As the buyer,
I would venture to say nothing.
can we add something into the schedules? No?
I think you're going to have to be really careful. I know that the market may have changed, but if it's condo market, it hasn't changed. You're not, just be happy to get good caps, maximum caps on some like development charges, Section 37. You got to be careful because what I'll see is development charges and educational charges and all certain charges, they'll cap. They'll say 1 bedroom is so much money, 2 bedroom is another amount. But then they'll go on, they'll talk about Section 37 agreement. Section 37 agreement is an agreement the municipality has with the builder. Builder says, look, I got 30 floors. I want to get a right to make it 50 floors. City says, okay, but you got to sign this agreement that you're going to give us money to put up a community center, a hockey rink, a high school. You're going to give us money for that. Well, the builder says, sure, and they pass on the cost to the buyers. But usually they don't cap it. So, for example, Emerald Park, actually, Shepherd and Young, there was a problem. So, everything was capped, but Section 37 agreement wasn't capped, and public art, which most of the public art at these condos is crappy anyways, but the combination of the Section 37 agreement fee and the public art was over $25,000. And people found out only when they, like, close to the final closing, and all of a sudden they had to scramble to make up $25,000. So you have some leeway, not much. The other thing is, for single family homes, you may have more play on that than others. But at some level, I mean, your leverage only goes so far.
And in the scenario you described before, to try to protect the household property by putting only one of the family member, but she or he may not be the owner, but may not appear on the mortgage.
Right. So what I was saying, for example, you have a husband and wife scenario. Wife is on the builder's agreement, but she won't qualify for the mortgage. Maybe you need husband and wife or just husband. I would go back to the builder and say, oh, we have to change it because, and it's not, I would say, it's not an assignment, but I got to replace or I got to add the husband or replace the wife with the husband for mortgage. Most builders would say, okay, show me a mortgage approval, show me that you need to do it that way. If they said no, I say, okay, if we don't close, builder, it's your fault. I would use it against them. You know, it's difficult if you put a 20-year-old, like you want, you know, I got parents that will buy a condo for their daughter or son who's early 20s and they're going to school. Well, they're not going to qualify. So you got to think the step ahead. And then usually what happens, even if, you know, the parents put down enough down payment so the mortgage is low, loan to value, then I get the parents saying, oh, what if I have my son or daughter on title? What happens if they meet some evil person they get involved with and marry? Then what happens?